There are 4 warehouses available for storage, each holding up to 20 test subjects in individual experimentation cells, though more subjects can be temporarily held in each if the need arises. On staff conducting the experiments, there are 3 nurses, 6 medical students, 2 medical interns, and 3 medical residents. You are welcome to join in the live streaming of medical experiments being currently undertaken, or if you prefer, or perhaps are squeamish, you may simply wish to read the post-experiment notes detailing the experience. Currently, experiments range from starvation, vivisection, forced transfusions, and sterilizations. All laboratory work is conducted at a real hospital using samples that are classified under the real patient's names in order to not arouse suspicion. The bodies of the dead, both those from experimentation and those who are no longer of use and are euthanized, are disposed of in dumpsters at local meat shops. Human remains mixed with those of animals. Test subject names are kept confidential in order to avoid identification by site visitors and are only referred to by their serial numbers. New test subjects are chosen ahead of time and taken from local homeless and non-registered resident populations so as to avoid legal entanglements. Welcome to the human experiments, a particularly dark corner of the deep web that many curious wanderers have accidentally stumbled into. But is this site real? Is there really a website dedicated to sharing the results of grotesque and inhumane human experiments on the deep web? There's no doubt that there exists plenty of illegal materials on the deep web, a place notorious for illegal activities. However, real-life human torture? Well, for that we turn to red rooms. A long-time urban legend that sprung from our fascination with the deep web and the darker side of human psychology. Red rooms are allegedly places you can log into and witness human torture streamed to you live. Such places are not publicly listed and require a direct invitation, which is typically bought well in advance of the actual event. Working like a twisted version of a common webcam chat site, viewers can suggest things to be done and even tip money directly for specific things to happen. Those that tip the highest have their requests fulfilled. But are these places real? Well, to date, no evidence exists yet that red rooms have ever actually existed. In fact, many internet experts are deeply skeptical that red rooms exist, or that they ever did, as the security liabilities are huge for anyone putting on these productions. Sure, you could have your physical operation set up in a place with lax legal oversight and perhaps corrupt public officials who won't ever bother investigating your activities, but as so many have found out on the net, you can control your own side of the situation but have little to no control over everyone else you invite into it. If red rooms existed, all it would have taken is one single careless individual to unwittingly provide evidence of their existence, and law enforcement would have swarmed all over any active red rooms. On the net, the smallest bit of carelessness can end up costing you huge, and many crime rings have been brought down on the deep web thanks to the carelessness of users. For a real red room to exist, it would have to operate flawlessly and with perfect clientele who are never careless. It's very likely that at least one red room client would eventually been busted by law enforcement for something completely unrelated, only to accidentally lead police directly to evidence of a real red room. Such carelessness helped bring down the powerful Silk Road illegal marketplace after all. But could the human experiments be real? Could there really be a place in the deep web right now where renegade doctors are conducting cruel and inhumane experiments on unwitting test subjects, streaming the process to viewers? First, let's look at the available evidence. While it's since been removed, the website was once found through the Hidden Wiki, a sort of phone book for deep web sites. If the human experiments was real, it's certainly odd that it would be publicly listed on a link directory, easily accessible to anyone who wanted to investigate it for themselves. The website is currently offline, or at least no longer exists at the link it used to live at. Perhaps the creators wisened up and made themselves a bit more secret? Not likely. Let's find out why. To date, the only evidence of the site other than a dead link is a series of several screenshots taken from when it was briefly operational. These offer some major clues into the validity of the site, so let's investigate once more. The front page of the website, visible on this screenshot, lists the general purpose of the human experiments, as well as some of their methodology. The listed experiments being conducted read like bad creepypasta fiction, listing tolerances to X-rays, heat, and pressure amongst other things in what is clearly an attempt to shock the reader. However, the bad fiction is revealed even more when we move past that to read about their methodology. First, the site claims that laboratory examinations of collected samples from the subjects are taken to real hospitals for processing, although it says that these samples are submitted under the names of real patients so as not to arouse suspicion. Well, it would be mightily suspicious if Mr. Doug Jones, being treated for a broken leg, suddenly had lab test results that showed blood work indicating toxic chemicals in his bloodstream. Yeah, submitting samples of people you torture under the names of real patients turns out to be a pretty stupid thing to do, unless you're just a bad fiction writer, of course. But why are lab samples even being submitted when clearly the medical experiments have no actual medical value? Tolerances to X-rays, heat, and pressure? We already know those tolerances pretty well, thanks to our fundamental understanding of the human body and X-rays, heat, and pressure. Why would you even submit lab work to a real hospital in the first place, thus greatly increasing the possibility of getting caught? If you're secretly torturing people and streaming the results on the deep web, the last thing you want to do is increase your exposure. Again, bad fiction. It's the way the bodies are disposed of that further hint at the human experiments being nothing but really terrible creepypasta fiction. Allegedly, subjects are disposed of in dumpsters of meat shops where the bodies will not be found. We suppose that the fantasy here is that because butchers surely dispose of a lot of meat, nobody will notice human remains in a butcher shop's dumpster. Except that humans, as the only true bipedal animals on the planet, tend to look nothing at all like other animals, and neither do our remains. So a few fingers, an arm, or an outright leg are going to sound the alarm bells when one eventually falls out, either in the landfill or as the garbage is being loaded. However, the biggest giveaway that this whole thing is nothing more than amateurish creepypasta fiction is that the disposal location and methodology is even mentioned in the first place. This is basically inviting law enforcement to find the evidence of your crimes by literally telling them where to look. Sure, you could be in any city in the world, but why even give the cops a way of catching you should they happen to narrow your location down to, say, a few dozen cities? It's amateurish and, well, kinda stupid, but that's what you get when you write bad creepypasta. Also, medical personnel should definitely know of better ways of disposing bodies so that they can't be found or identified than simply dumping them in a butcher shop dumpster. Has the writer of this failed creepypasta never even seen Breaking Bad? So, rest easy, because the human experiments is without a doubt fake. It's simply the amateurish writing of a bad horror fiction writer that's playing into the popular trope of terrifying inhumane activity on the dark web. Believe us, human beings are terrible enough on the clear web to not need bad creepypasta. Our verdict? It's a fake, and a particularly bad one. Want to explore the deep web for yourself? Check out our guide and super easy way to access the deep web, or check out this other video instead.